Speaker, when you addressed me, Toby, you reminded me of my grandpa. You know, when we were young in Nyokonope, he had this song. It just struck me. I don't know whether you remember that song. Nyong lonely mele jeta, jeta nela wo fiade, nela wo la wo side, o ma loho, o ma loho, o ma loho, o ma lohe, o ma loho, nyong lonely mele jeta, jeta nela wo fiade, nela wo la wo side, o ma loho. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, Honorable Majority Leader, today is our turn, the minority, to conclude outside of the debate and arise to fulfill two solemn duties. First, to expose the glaring falsehoods in Honorable Akuffo's spreadsheet, a document riddled with misleading figures designed to obscure the truth. Second, to give voice to the millions of Ghanaians who have been betrayed by broken promises and abandoned dreams. 7 months ago, this government pledged a new beginning, a reset for our nation. Yet what have the people received? Not renewal, but ruin. Not progress, but economic wreckage, dressed in empty rhetoric. And so, Mr. Speaker, I stand here to speak the truth to power, to a government that has lost its moral compass, deserted its commitments, and systematically broken the trust of 33 million citizens. The evidence is undeniable, and this is not merely a government in crisis. It is a government in collapse because it is not facing the truth. Mr. Speaker, the mid-year budget review before us reads like a confession of failure. As my colleagues before me have copiously pointed out, behind every projection lies a story of incompetence. Behind every statistics, we find reality of a nation bleeding from self-inflicted wounds. Mr. Speaker, while the Bank of Ghana announces fairly tale exchange rates, businesses desperate for foreign currency cannot access a single dollar from our banking system. They are forced into the shadows of black markets where reality bears no resemblance to government fiction. This artificial exchange rate manipulation has crippled legitimate importers, destroyed business confidence, and turned our economy into a house of cards. The minister proudly reports custom revenue shortfall of 1.6 billion, blaming smuggling. But Mr. Speaker, you cannot collect revenue on goods that are never imported because businesses cannot access foreign exchange to finance legitimate trade. This government has created an economic environment where legal commerce becomes impossible while illegal activities flourish. Perhaps the most damning indictment lies in their own projections. They say they are competent. This government inherited an economy growing at 5.7% and now projects 4% growth. How does competence deliver the 1.7 percentage point decline? How does change deliver this regression? Mr. Speaker, when a government inherits economic momentum and kills it in 7 months, you have not just failed, you have sabotaged the future of the country. When the minister declares, quote, "I am not asking for additional money," unquote, he confesses that the government has no ideas, no vision, no capacity to accelerate growth. They are undertakers disguised as economists, managing Ghana's economic funeral while calling it fiscal policy. Mr. Speaker, let me remind this House of what Ghana once had and what these self-proclaimed apostles of reset have systematically destroyed. We built robust diplomatic relations with strategic partners at the United States, strengthening Ghana's position in the global market. The apostles of reset have assassinated these partnerships with reckless, undiplomatic utterances that are gradually making Ghana a pariah in international circles. We initiated a transformational 1D1F to create jobs, to boost local production across every corner of Ghana. The apostles of reset have murdered this industrial revolution and condemned these initiatives to economic stagnation. We launched the Agenda 111 hospitals to heal our people and create a foundation for medical tourism. The apostles of reset have killed this health infrastructure expansion, leaving communities without hope for quality health care. Mr. Speaker, we pioneered planting for food and jobs to feed our people, to ensure food security and create agricultural wealth. The so-called apostles of reset have slaughtered this agricultural transformation, leaving farmers abandoned and food security compromised. All they know is a gold board, gold board, gold board to promote galamsey. And it came without doubt that on May Day, organized labor, without relenting, boldly confronted this issue and questioned the government's commitment in dealing with galamsey. Organized labor, speaking through its Secretary General, said that galamsey within the first 5 months of the NDC administration has worsened. The NDC has not questioned. Mr. Speaker, recently we had the Catholic Bishops' Conference also coming out with a strongly worded statement pointing to the worsening galamsey situation, all because the government has now legitimatized the galamsey menace. And Gold Board is now buying and encouraging people to pursue galamsey. Mr. Speaker, without doubt, we also established rigorous prosecution to recover stolen national resources and reinvest recovered funds into national development. Today, what do we see? The government is now using nolle prosequa to protect its financiers, and they are rather persecuting NDC, MPP appointees. Mr. Speaker, with 30% of youth unemployed, this government has allocated only 0.5 billion to create jobs, a pittance that insults 3 million unemployed young Ghanaians. When young people have no stake in the legitimacy of the economy, they become recruits for criminal gangs and illegal mining operations. There is a direct correlation between this government failure to create jobs and the unprecedented insecurity plaguing our nation. Every unemployed youth represents not just wasted potential, but a security threat born of economic neglect. Mr. Speaker, over 1,500 Ghanaians, the reports have it, have perished on our roads since January to date. The Kumasi Highway has become a graveyard because this government refuses to pay contractors. Mr. Speaker, even ministries, their allocations have not been released. How much more contractors? None of the ministers can boldly say on record that he or she has received releases. Mr. Speaker, every pothole represents lost productivity. Every death on our highways bears this government fingerprint. The contractors must be paid and paid now. Mr. Speaker, perhaps let me remind the NDC that long before they assumed office in 2009, and long after they had lost power in 2000, the 8 years of the Akuffo administration established the following social intervention programs that are still part of the governance of the country. These were the legacies of President John Agyekum Kufuor. 1, the school feeding. 2, the capitation grant. 3, the NHIS that the NDC shamelessly boycotted the passage of the law. 4, the LEAP. 5, free maternal care and free busing for pupils, and establish the Metro Mass Transit System which became known as the Akuffo bus. Mr. Speaker, today, we see the NDC, 7 months in office. They have not come out with any productive social intervention program to give hope to the Ghanaian people. We therefore demand that they restore economic sanity through transparent foreign exchange auctions, expand the gold for oil reserve program, eliminate artificial exchange rate manipulation. We also demand of them, through their trade ministry, that they should reinstate the 1D1F program to create opportunity for businesses. The Agenda 111 hospitals, they have to continue to let these hospitals be completed. And again, instead of relying on galamsey activity as a way of growing the economy, they should restore agricultural transformation. Mr. Speaker, government must also strengthen diplomatic relations with strategic partners, restore impartial justice, pay contractors promptly, and create safe environment for business and investment. Mr. Speaker, I need to repeat here, illegal mining is going on and it's affecting our nation. The time has come for this government to rise to the occasion and walk the talk and protect our environment. Mr. Speaker, we, the minority, have a duty to set the record straight. And we will systematically dismantle the misleading claims and omissions in the minister's presentation. Using facts and historical context, we will demonstrate how many of their touted achievements in the last 6 months are either continuation of the policies laid down by the previous NPP administration or simply unearned credits claimed by the new government. We cannot allow false narrative to take root. Ghanaians deserve the truth about our fiscal health, inflation trends, currency stability, employment situation, social programs, debt management, and taxation policies. I need to remind them that upon assuming office, a directive was issued by the Chief of Staff, which directive led to thousands of jobs being lost. Many Ghanaian youth who had been employed were sacked, and an attempt to raise the matter on this House floor was resisted by the majority. Mr. Speaker, let us be clear. The story of Ghana from 2017 to 2024 was one of significant progress. And though tough decisions had to be taken amidst global and domestic challenges, we all saw that within half a year, this NDC, blaming the MPP for all economic woes, yet taking credit for the groundwork laid before. Mr. Speaker, we will address major claim in turn, exposing again the inconsistency, highlighting the true drivers of Ghana's recent economic development. Mr. Speaker, the mid-year review attempt to paint the former MPP government as fiscally reckless, citing, quote, balloon deficit, unquote, arrears of 6 billion in unpaid bills and 194 billion in contract commitment. Yet, yes, Ghana's deficit did spike in 2020, we admit, but context matters. Context matters. A global pandemic forced emergency expenditures and a banking sector cleanup to protect millions of depositors. These were extraordinary interventions, not wanton profligacy. If that money that today you claim is 60-40 had not been pursued, where would Ghana be? You mess up the economy, you mess up the banking sector. The billions that went to your financiers that you couldn't take steps to protect. Today, you claim that we mess the economy. The evidence is there, and you've exposed yourself. 60-40 is what you are called on the streets of Accra. 60-40. 60-40 is your new name. 60-40. Give me 60, take 40. That is your new name. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the MPP government reduced the deficit sharply upon taking office from 9.3% of GDP in 2016 down to about 6% in 2017 and kept it near 5% through 2019. The 2020 deficit of 17% of GDP was a one-off crisis response mirrored worldwide, which saved lives and jobs. It is disingenuous for the finance minister to label that life-saving effort as reckless spending. Let us also correct the record on Ghana's public debt and the claim of alleged insolvency. It is true that debt to GDP rose under MPP, no doubt, we admit, from 56% in 2016 to around 80% in 2022. But what drove these? We inherited significant legacy costs, such as the energy sector debt, from their take or pay. They didn't analyze a contract, they didn't scrutinize, and they signed a take or pay contract and left it for a new government to inherit. These power contracts that were signed under the previous administration hit the economy, and it was a drain on public purse. I challenge them to write to rebut this. We also weathered the external shocks. COVID-19 borrowing to cushion the economy and steep cedi depreciation as global investors pulled back, and they know that. Crucially, we put those borrowed funds into productive use, investing in infrastructure, education. They left their e-blocks. We completed them. Industry and social programs that benefit Ghanaians today. If the state's finances were strained, it was in the course of building for the future and cleaning up of the mess, not to wanton waste. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, we took responsibility for top reforms to address debt issue. We initiated the IMF-supported recovery program in 2022 and undertook a painful domestic debt exchange program. Mr. Speaker, they lambasted us on this. We paid a high price. We are in opposition. But today, that painful decision that came at a cost to us is what you are relying on to build the economy. Can you deny that? Mr. Speaker, the finance minister boasted that our debt to GDP ratio is at a 5-year low and that the public debt dropped by 113.7 billion in 6 months. Mr. Speaker, this is very misleading. The reality, however, is that no significant amount of debt has been paid off by this government. The statistical drop in debt ratio is largely due to the debt cancellation and restructuring achieved under the previous government, combined with the cedi's appreciation effect. We asked the minister, exactly how much of Ghana's public debt has this government repaid to claim credit for the reduction? The answer is inconvenient, virtually none. Ghana's debt improved because the MPP did the heavy lifting, including a historic external debt operation that achieved $5 billion outright debt forgiveness and 4.7 billion in debt service savings. That is real debt reduction. The current administration merely stepped into an improving situation which was engineered by its predecessors. Mr. Speaker, to further buttress this point, let us recall that under MPP stewardship, Ghana never defaulted on external debt until 2022 crisis hit at the tail end of our term. We consistently met debt service obligations until an unprecedented combination of events forced a brief halt. Even then, MPP swiftly devised solution, the Energy Sector Levy Act, to systematically pay down energy liability, fiscal responsibility law, capping deficit at 5% of GDP to instill discipline, and the debt exchange to restore sustainability. These are actions of responsible government, and we are proud we took such decision, not a reckless one. The media review blasts our administration for high debt, but conveniently omit that by end 2024, Ghana's debt to GDP had actually fallen to about 70.5%. This decline was the fruit of the painful haircut and fiscal adjustment we undertook to reset the economy. Again, we take responsibility. We say sorry to Ghanaians. We had to take a painful decision to implement this, but you are taking advantage of these painful decisions without giving credit to us. Who is hypocrite in this matter? You are the one found wanting, and indeed, you are the political naysayers. You engage in double standard, and you are engaged in political hypocrisy. In short, the MPP cleaned up a grave situation, and now the new administration touts the cleaner floor as if it were their own accomplishment. What have you put in place? None. Mr. Speaker, let us address the narrative of wasteful spending under the NPP. The minister derided the former government's expenditure as waste. Yet we recall vividly that in 2020, the same NDC was loud, calling for a greater expenditure on COVID-related activities to alleviate hardship. They said so in this very chamber. They talk of debt unsustainability today, but their solution so far has been to go back to the IMF and rely on new borrowing under stricter conditions. The truth is that the MPP invested in Ghana's future. We rolled out transformational policies like the free SHS, built roads, 13,000 kilometers of roads. Mr. Speaker, for emphasis. Mr. Speaker, for emphasis. We introduced transformational policies to build the human resource capacity of our youth, such as the free SHS. Why are you quiet? We built 13,000 roads across the country and initiated the 1D1F to stimulate economic growth. Mr. Speaker, those investments are yielding dividends for our people. Meanwhile, the current government enjoys an IMF lifeline and fiscal space created by MPP's difficult reforms. They should be thanking the previous administration and not lambasting it. Mr. Speaker, the finance minister boasts that inflation has plunged from 23.8% in December 2024 to 13.7% by June 2025, implying some miraculous stabilization by the new administration. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's inflation story requires a longer lens. Yes, inflation is down from its peak, and that is good news for everyone. But we must remember why inflation spiked in the first place and how the trend was already reversing before January 2025. The reality check is that, Mr. Speaker, Ghana's inflation soared in 2022, peaked at over 50% year-on-year by December 2022, the highest in 22 years. This was not because of domestic fiscal indiscipline. It was largely imported pain, global supply shocks, COVID-induced supply chain disruptions, a surge in international oil prices, and the Russia-Ukraine war impact on food and fuel. Mr. Speaker, if this claim by us and will not shift, if this claim by us is unacceptable to our colleagues who are now in government, then I ask, why did President John Dramani Mahama recently say that the situation in Middle East would have effect on the economy? Therefore, he is inviting the finance minister and the energy minister to sit together to review certain government policies. If international shocks have no effect, why did the president complain that the Middle East crisis is having an effect on the economy? What a shame. Mr. Speaker, we saw transport fares up. We saw the price of imported foods going up and stable prices surged worldwide. Ghana, being a small open economy, could not escape this wave. Mr. Speaker, the minister's own figure of 23.8% in December 2024 reflect this progress. To put this in perspective, pre-crisis inflation under MPP was lowest in decades. We ended 2019 at just 7.9% inflation, well within single digits. So while 13.7% in June 2025 is certainly much improved from the height of 2022, which we admit, it is not some unprecedented for a 4-year low, as the minister suggests. In fact, it is higher than what we achieved in normal times before the global crisis. And what has changed in 2025? The sharp disinflation is the first half of 2025. It's largely a continuation of the trend that MPP set in motion under the IMF program and our economic recovery policies. With stable fuel prices globally and the cedi regaining some strength, prices of imported goods began to ease. The minister himself admits that the recent inflation drop, quote, is not by chance or sheer luck, unquote. Indeed, this was by design of policies that began under the Nana Addo Dankwa Akuffo Addo government. Mr. Speaker, it was MPP that negotiated the IMF support package, which restored investor confidence and unlocked funding. It was MPP that started the Gold for Oil program to moderate fuel prices, and it was MPP's fiscal adjustment that reined in excess liquidity. But to claim, so credit, or trumpet it as a vindication of 6-month work is premature. Ghana's inflation was already coming down, and the global condition provided a tailwind. There has been no bold new anti-inflation strategy from the current government beyond sticking with the IMF-guided path set earlier. Let us also recall that Ghana's longer inflation history for this House. Mr. Speaker, under the previous NDC government, that is 2012 to 2016, inflation was often run in mid-teens and even surpassed 17%. At one point, Ghana faced hyperinflationary pressures. Indeed, going back further, we had over 40% inflation in 2000 and had to redominate the cedi in 2007 due to cumulative high inflation eroding the currency's value. In the year 2000, the government in power was your party. It was NDC, and you took us to a 40% inflation. Now, those storms are passing. Inflation is naturally receding. The NDC cannot credibly claim to have fixed the inflation in 6 months, when the truth is that in Ghana was already healing. We caution that the 13% inflation is still higher than our pre-crisis norm. There is more work ahead to bring it fully into single-digit target band. That work requires consistency, prudence, not celebratory lapse after just half a year. I urge the finance minister, release monies to your ministers. Your ministers are idle. Your ministers are not working. Release their allocations to them. Pay the contractors. Mr. Speaker, the media review makes much of the Ghanaian cedi performance, with the minister jubilantly declaring cedi no apeke. He even claimed the recent cedi appreciation has never happened in the history of the country. Mr. Speaker, let's analyze this carefully. It is true that in the first part of 2025, the cedi strengthened against major currencies, an undoubtedly positive development, and we admit. But what are the underlying causes, and is this sustainable, I ask? First, context of 2022 must be highlighted. Yes, the cedi was one of the world's worst performing currencies that year, depreciating steeply, at one point losing over half of its value. It's a matter of public record. But again, this does not occur in isolation. I dare argue. In 2022, virtually all emerging economies fell short sharply against a surging US dollar. Emerging economies and their currencies fell short of the US dollar. Several Federal Reserve aggressive rate hikes made the dollar strong in decades. As I've already mentioned, the Ukraine conflict drove oil and commodity import costs up, sucking foreign exchange out of countries like ours. Ghana also faced a momentary loss of investor confidence before the IMF deal, which hurt forex inflows. In short, the 2022 was a storm for the city, and I concede. But I dare argue that despite all of this, the MPP government stabilized the city in 2023. After reaching its weakest point in late 2022, the city slide was arrested and partially reversed. The key was restoring confidence, securing the IMF agreement in 2023, commencing the debt restructuring, which signaled to markets that Ghana was addressing its debt and innovative policies like the gold for oil, where we battered gold for oil for fuel to reduce forex demand. By end 2024, the cedi depreciation has slowed dramatically. It was down only by 19% year on year against the dollar, a marked improvement from the free for all earlier. So when the new government took over the reins of affairs in January 2025, they inherited a stabilizing currency, not a perpetually dwindling one. Mr. Speaker, the cedi depreciation, now the cedi's appreciation in 2025. Indeed, from January through to June, the cedi strengthened significantly, which the minister touted as unprecedented. We do welcome a stronger cedi. We on this side welcome a stronger cedi. It eases the burden on import costs and brings some price relief to Ghanaians. However, claiming this as a proof of some unique NDC progress is misleading. Several factors have contributed to the cedi's rise, and they are not purely the result of fresh political genius. A major factor is renewed investor confidence and inflows on the back of the IMF program and improved fiscal outlook, a trajectory set in motion last year. Another factor is Ghana's record high gold exports and remittances in late 2024. Mr. Speaker, let me remind the NDC, whereas they have denied the successes of MPP in laying the foundation, they have quietly indicated that in their report to the IMF. That is why recently the IMF exposed you, that you have acknowledged that the stability you find today is as a result of the foundation laid by the Akuffo Addo government. Why did you refuse to acknowledge it in the dispatch box, but wrote a letter to the IMF to admit this? Mr. Speaker, these inflows from the IMF shored up our reserves. By end 2024, Ghana's gross international reserves stood at $8.9 billion, a healthy buffer, well ahead of IMF targets. The minister in mid-year review proudly announces that reserves have further risen to $11.212 billion by June 2025. What he failed to clarify was that the $8.9 billion of that was inherited from the previous administration's efforts. The new addition in the first half of 2025 was just about $2.2 billion. Significant, yes, but not miraculous, given favorable trade winds and carryover programs. Crucially, Mr. Speaker, the Bank of Ghana's heavy intervention in the forex market has played an unsustainable role in propping up the cedi. And this the IMF has pointed out. This the IMF has pointed out. Yet you are quiet. Despite earlier denial, it took the IMF to reveal that the first quarter of 2025 alone, the BOG injected $1.4 billion of reserves into the market to support the cedi. Have you told Ghanaians this? Was this included in your media report? This kind of artificial support, effectively using scarce reserves to boost the cedi, can only be a short-term strategy. Indeed, the IMF has cautioned our government about the sustainability of this approach, urging that we reduce BOG's footprint and allow greater exchange rate flexibility going forward. On the ground, many importers and businesses will tell you a sobering truth. While the official interbank rate has shown a strong cedi, dollars have become scarce in the open market. A wide arbitrage has emerged. The cedi appreciates appears stronger on paper, but it is difficult for businesses to actually obtain forex at those rates. As one of my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, aptly put it, Sidi no apeke, but Abochi has a dollar. The point is that the real economic strength comes from a currency's purchasing power, not just the exchange rate on a given day. This government must hear this. Mr. Speaker, in contrast, consider the currency stability under the MPP's first term. That's 2017 to 2019. During the period, the cedi's annual depreciation averaged around 8 to 10%. A remarkably stable performance compared to the 18 to 30